Hey everyone, this is Chef. Welcome back to Empirical Sahara, our arid African desert-themed Sahara Zoo. In the last episode, we put together the food group because I had budget concerns about getting started on the Fennec Fox habitat, and then we spent all of our money on the food court. So we're kind of in the same situation that we left ourselves in previously, except now we have a nice looking food court to go with it. But there was also a comment left on the dromedary video from, let me go find it. We can let this run because we're gonna need money today. From, what was their name? Siri, who pointed out that we've forgotten a couple components. I don't have protesters. You're fine. Who pointed out that we've actually forgotten some elements in these habitats. Um, for one, I don't have a talking point in the dromedary camel. That was not something that they pointed out, but it is something that I want to take the opportunity to address now. I think, personally, it would be neat if you could hear the animal talk for the dromedaries from the food court. So we're going to stick it over here. This is going to be dromedary talk. The species is going to be dromedary. You don't have power. I'm going to have to fix that. That's going to have to get fixed. Which also means that you should move this light back over here. Space, sign, space. Right, that's the whole group. Enter group edit. Duplicate just you. You should go here. Apparently I left a lot of stuff undone, and then we need to add you to work zone. The point is, though, you can have this. The point is that we need to add some extra stuff to these habitats. Specifically, we don't have education speakers. So we are missing out on free guest education that we could be using to get our finances up a little bit. And also that we're not doing staff training. Staff training, I think I'm going to leave for a little longer, just because I continue to have budget concerns. But speakers, I think we can definitely get them. The only question is where to hide these things, and I actually wonder if maybe I just hide them on the back of these walls, and I put them in this group, so that when we copy this group around, it actually just copies everything that we need to educate guests. So pull this up to about here. Staple one of these educational speakers on the back. Actually, how nicely are you willing to fit, like, right here? And then can I drag you around a little bit? You know? That's not horrible. And then how much of you can I hide? Not a lot. But some. Do you like that? I don't think I like that. I think I want to put you underground. Switch you to world grid. And then we'll move you down to where the actual education site is. Switch you over to dromedary camel. No ambience. Oh, is that custom music only? I guess I'd have to use ambient speakers for that. Maybe I do want to use ambient speakers for that, because we could make it sound nicer. Duplicate you. These are 100 a pop. Maybe we save that for later. No, wait, no, yeah, you can. Okay, we're gonna save that one for later. You, on the other hand, I think you can't play music. So you we can set up with Saharan Oasis. And you can sound kind of nice. What are my other talk times? Your talk is February. You're August. So they're 6 months apart. I think I'd rather have them 4 months apart. February. You'd be June. And then you will be October. There we go. And then you're chilling down there just fine. Let's put a second one in so I can figure out what the range is going to be. Slide you up. Do our maintenance work. You get stuck onto this thing. And then we just put you on the global grid and we slide you down. There. And then from here on out, when we duplicate this, we'll just be able to duplicate this whole assembly. So, move you out to about 8. Eight looks pretty good. I think we can roll with 8. So we should be able to do 8 for most of these. Let's go ahead and hide you on the ground again. And I was going to go through and do all of this after we were done with this section of the zoo. We're going to do a step at the end where we just do some general polish. And that's also going to involve, like, decorating this back part of the path here. It's going to involve putting in these conservation education boards. We'll make, like, little viewing areas back here and stuff. And I was going to save this process of putting speakers for that, but I think that Siri's right, and this is going to make us more money in the short term. So we're going to go ahead and take care of it. Because anything that we can do to keep more money coming into this budget is just going to let us build faster with fewer interruptions. So we'll bring you down. Dromedary at 8. Advanced move. Hide you. This is why it's so nice to just have all of you saved in groups as well. So that you can just grab the little part of it that you need, and then you can move it back to where it needs to go later. Dromedary to 8. Two more to go for dromedaries. Go ahead and put you in. Yeah, I think 8 is going to work perfect for all of these. And we'll see how this affects our cash flow by the end of this 7th year of operation. Ideally, it makes us a ton of money. I have done a little bit of testing in the background just to make sure that the thing I want to do actually works and that I'm happy with it. And it does, although I didn't finish it. But it does currently look like it's going to cost me about $14,000. So even on a good year, that is most of our money. And we may be taking out the $5,000 loan this year, if not the giganto $50,000 loan. Because after we do it for the Fennec Foxes, I'm actually going to use a very similar structure for the Sandcats. And it'll be good, because it's going to make those two habitats look very connected. It's going to make them look like they're part of the same overall construction. But at the same time, it's going to be very, very expensive. So I'll show you what I mean here as soon as we're done replacing all this. We'll get into the weeds here shortly. Now that I've been playing a bit too much Factorio lately because I have to keep trying to use Q to drop my item selection. It is not how that works over here, unfortunately, but man, it would be a nice hotkey if it did. Right, this will be AdX done. And then we just have the Sable-Horned Oryx to go after that. Looking good. I think we'll have just enough money to do this. I don't want to unpause it now because I want to get a good measure for how much this actually helps with our income. So I want to get all of these placed down first. And then at the end of the year, we can evaluate how much it's actually done for us. You're really low. Is that because the path dips here? It might be because the path dips here. No, you were just too low. And then there should be one more after this. Right here. So, let's see how we're doing after this. You come down to here. All right. We have $127. That is not going to cut it. Especially when I also need to get power out here with the transformer. God, we get so much money. Well, they're only 500. It's not that bad. Still, though, our cash flow last year was good. Our cash flow every year has been good. Even on a bad year, we make $10,000. A $50,000 loan is only ever really going to cost us like $8,000, and it's going to let us finish both of those habitats no problem. I'm doing it. Let's also maybe turn these down a bit. pay back 5,000 on this, and I'll pay back 8,000 on this. So total yearly repayments are 13,000, which is, you know, I think this year was actually anomalous. It's about as much as we make, but I have $50,000 to spend. And if I can get the Fennec Fox habitat up to speed, which currently has no education whatsoever, and if I can get the Sandcat habitat up to speed, I think we will not have any problems making that money back. So, here's what I'm thinking. We can let the zoo run a little bit here. What I'm thinking is I want this habitat and this habitat to both have like an aviary feel to them with a little bit of mesh netting. So we're going to take a mud pillar, which conveniently is one of the only grid pieces in the game that is a circle. Whatever. Good thing we took that loan out. Actually, did you fix whatever issue the Sandcat was having? Maybe not. No, wait, those are the Fennec Foxes. What are you mad about? None enrichment? Do I have any enrichment items for you at all? You have a burrow. It just, I don't have any enrichment items for you. You're just gonna have to suffer for a bit. I'm sorry. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to map out exactly how big this habitat needs to be. So with all of our snapping on, I'm going to grab one of these things, and then I'm going to pull it through to the other side. And what this lets us do is it lets us create a symmetric shape on this pillar. So if I take all of these and I put them into a group, I can then take this group and I can duplicate it. I actually think I have to rotate you. Try that out. There you go. So now I can spin this thing, and it spins perfectly in a circle. So on the outside of these beams, I can create a circle. We're going to have a structure that looks roughly like this. Or thereabouts. We're not going to need to complete the entire thing. And then here in the middle, I'm going to delete some of these extra pillars away. Actually, just going to take this whole thing, split all of the groups, and then delete these pillars until there's only one left. Then combine everything back into a group. And then I can move this thing around to figure out where it's going to fit. So I want one pillar to go about here, and one to go about here, and then there'll be a short, straight section in the middle. But also, importantly, as guests are walking down this path, I want them to be able to see directly into the Fennec Fox habitat, because I think that will make it look visually interesting. So, we want to rotate this thing a little bit, so that this first cut of mesh netting is going to be facing towards guests. Which it looks like it's going to sit right about there. Then I want to add on to each of these so I can figure out how far back it needs to be from the path. So with 2 stick lengths, if I go ahead and drop this closer to the ground, I can see about how far it's going to reach, and it looks like I can fit one pillar here. That's going to be this, this, and this as our 3 facets. We're going to have a straight portion here. Then we're going to have a second one that is going to need to line up exactly with the first one. So maybe you should duplicate an advanced move here. Just to get it to line up right. We're going to have a second one that goes about here. So we'll have frame, 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 straight section. Frame, 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 and then end of the habitat is going to be here. So I forgot to place the second pillar down. Right about like this. Close enough. You're going to go right about here. And then you sit there. Because I need to use you to measure out where this fence is actually going to end. So we're going to shorten up the Fennec Fox habitat quite a bit. And I'm just going to drag the barrier corners to the ends of where each of these spurs are. So that I can more easily visualize how this is going to look. You're going to go here. You're going to come out to here, and then this one's going to come over to here. So that's going to be the rough shape of the new habitat. This is going to be gone completely. This is going to get pulled back to here. And then if we need to recover extra space in the habitat, we can shift this wall around a bit. But the other thing that I think we can do over here now, since that liberates a little bit of space, is we can get our Egyptian fruit bat in here. So we can extend this mesh so that it also covers this walkthrough exhibit and makes it look like there's a bat aviary next to it. And then this can sit here, and the end of this path can loop back around into here and connect to the Fennec Foxes, because I don't think I'm going to be using this space back here for what I originally thought. I'm not going to put this in now. This is a very expensive building. I don't want to spend the 9K, but I think that's roughly the way that this structure is going to look. If we check on habitat size over here, we still have 828 to work with. And if we check on our Fennec Foxes, eventually we'd like to have probably 6 of you. And then maybe like 3 juveniles in that habitat. They only need 364. So this habitat is still going to be plenty big enough. The size is going to get cut about in half as we continue building this thing out. We might adjust these fences around a little bit more, but we should be pretty good on space. And if we need slightly fewer Fennec Foxes, that's also fine. So with general structure figured out, I'm going to put markers in for where I would like this to end. I would like to... Yes, exactly. Thank you. And I'd also like angle snap on. So I'm just going to put these posts at the end of these beams. As markers for where I would like it to come out to. It is you, yeah. You actually come out a little far. We may want to adjust these a little bit, but I just want the general framework for where roughly this thing is going to lie. And then last one here. And then we're going to take each of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We are going to merge you into a group. And then we are going to take this thing and destroy it. And we're going to take this thing and we're going to move it back over here to continue working. You can sit about there. I only want to build one triangle at a time, so these extra spokes are now extraneous. We can delete those. And we can start filling in the mesh on, well, maybe I want to give it slightly more facets now that I look at it. Yeah. That's more expensive than it needed to be. But oh well. We can get rid of one of those. And then there's going to be a ton of duplicates under here as well. But I can merge these into a group. And then if I duplicate you again, now I get the number that I want. So get rid of this in the middle. Merge these into a group. And now I can start building my triangles. So I do want this to have a little bit of elevation. We're going to take a second mud pillar, stick it on top. And then we're going to take rough rope. Because rough rope is paintable. We're going to stick one at the very top. Give you a nice gray color so that you look like metal cable. And then we're also going to put a rough rope at the end of, let's say, this spoke. We're going to rotate you. You don't actually need to do it this way, but we'll do it this way for now. And then we're just going to keep stacking them. I think about this tall should be good enough. Maybe one or two more. Let's see how that does. Then take all of these rope pieces. Split them from that group. And then advance to move them. So that you can get them to intersect with the very top of this pit. It was not long enough. Holy cow. Also, I think you're going to regret not having this thing on the right grid. Now, that looks about right. We just need to add a couple more onto the top. Yeah, in fact, you've almost got it exactly perfect. Just rotate you around a tiny bit more. There you go. Oh, but now it's not even on the bottom. You should really, if you want this to be exact, I think you should really be doing it on the grid. Are you going to be able to live with imperfection? Yes, I will be able to live with imperfection. It'll be okay. Never mind, I'll just be perfect instead. So we get one of these. We duplicate it. Actually, not yet. we shorten you by just a little bit to get you to intersect exactly with the rope at the top. Then we duplicate you. We spin you 180. We slide you back to here. We get you to just barely intersect with the top. And then, once you've got that done, split this thing from its group, because you never should have been in that group in the first place. Please work. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So now we can spin this thing around as much as we want. And we can get our little individual frame right here. But instead of doing that right now, I'm actually going to build out this whole square. No, I'll do this. So, let's make another section of rough rope here without any group selected. This is going to be the cable that runs horizontally. Select all these, put them into a group. Lay it horizontal. Pull it up to about here. Line up one end with that beam. And then spin it until it intersects with this other beam. I'd actually like to see where the cable itself intersects. So I'm comfortable getting rid of these. And then I do need to trim these ever so slightly. Yeah, you're kind of doing this in the wrong way. Can you tell that I don't make domes very often? You don't need anything on this side yet. All of this can go. And then also all of this can go. There we go. So now you can go back to working on this thing. And you want these joins to be nice and tidy. Which they are. You can trim one piece of rope off the end of this. And then you can slide the second one over just a little bit. Good. Can also get rid of these things in the meantime. So that's one of our triangles done. And then we need to fill it in with a mesh. Which is going to be the giant pain in the butt. So get ready. Give me a 4x4 panel to start. Staple you on here. Angle snap off, and I need to rotate this so that it intersects with this rope perfectly. That actually looks pretty good. Did you manage to do that in one shot? It's real close. God, I think you actually managed to do that on your first try. That's crazy. All right. Unfortunately, the 4x4 is too big. Okay, start me with a 4x2. And rotate me 90. Four by two, also slightly too big. Right, take me to 2x2. So for these, we're just going to go corner to corner. One here. One here. Getting them to line up as best we can in the middle. Then we go up. We slide you over until every single one of the meshes is inside the rope. Slide over. And this is the part that destroys your budget. Because mesh is not cheap. You're a little off on the other side here. I think this is like 20 bucks per segment. And we're doing fine here now. But these are just the big pieces. And if we want to make this look nice, we're going to need to go back and fill in the corners. Which, I'll tell you now, we do want it to look nice. So we will be going back to fill in corners. And that's all we can do with the 2x2 pieces. So now we drop to 1x1. And we continue working up with the 1x1 pieces. Which can go here. Here. And also here. Double check that you're actually on your rope. Yeah, you are. God, I can't believe we did that so fast. I love that. And then this just keeps going all the way up to the top. Looks like it's slightly misaligned, but that's fine. I don't think anybody is ever going to inspect this mesh roof that closely. It's mostly just for my own satisfaction that we're going to spend this much time on it. So I feel like this is... Okay, we're out of space for 1x1s. Now we go to 0.5s. I think this is one of those skills that everybody in Planet Zoo develops eventually. It's the ability to build a circle building. And they do look really nice when they're done, as you'll see. But they are also a massive time sink. So it's up to you whether it's something that's actually worth your time or not. And that's about as far up as you can go, because there's no smaller piece than the 0.5. So now we come all the way back down here to the bottom, and we start filling in these corners. Let's keep sliding these up. I don't mind that it's poking through a little bit. I don't really think that's something that you'll be able to notice once we put in the rest of them. You're never going to be aligned perfectly on these either. So sometimes it's just about eyeballing it and getting close enough. So in a lot of places, there's going to be a lot of mesh overlapping. And there's not really anything you can do about that. Especially here at the edges. We're so much further away from the top than I thought. It's okay though. Once we get up to the top, we already used the 0.5 there. There's not really going to be anything to do. And yes, here we are really spending like $10 just to make one square. Is this a wise use of money? No, absolutely not. But I do want to have a couple flagship projects that you can see from a lot of different places in the zoo. I don't know if you watch a lot of other Planet Zoo creators, but I have been watching a lot of ZSH Plays lately, or I guess ZSH, if I'm going to be using the same pronunciation that he uses. And in his current zoo, I just really like how much of that zoo you can see from other places in the zoo. He has like a massive Amazon house, like greenhouse. He has these big aviaries and fences and foliage and buildings and all this kind of stuff that's just poking over the horizon no matter where you are in the zoo. And I think that's really cool. And while I don't think we're going to have any giant greenhouses in the desert because, you know, they would turn into ovens, I do think that we can have like a couple signature buildings or signature constructions or whatever you want to call them that you will be able to see from different points in the zoo. So an aviary of this size, like a mesh netting habitat of this size, it's something that you should be able to see from the entrance, and it's the kind of thing that would draw guests deeper into the zoo to do more exploring. So I don't think financially it's worth it, but I think aesthetically it's going to be worth it. I mean, obviously financially it's not going to be worth it. We've already spent $3,000. And you might be like, oh, $3,000? It's not that bad. No, it's $3,000 on just this triangle. Remember, we need to make 8 of these triangles. I think we might be there. I don't really see anywhere else that I can fill that in. Alright, so that's one panel done. I do also want to put in the supports that are going to go down at this point. So let's grab some nice beam square painted. We can recolor this later to whatever we want it to be. We'll have it stick out a little bit above the rope. And I don't know what kind of height I'm going to want on this thing yet, so I'm just going to leave it about here. And about here. And then for viewing gallery, give me thin beam painted. We're going to have these sit up top, just underneath the mesh netting. It's going to provide a bit of airflow. Then, we're going to have mesh again. But this time we'll use the square mesh, just to break it up a little visually. Something like this. And then at the bottom, we're going to have mud wall. And we'll dress this up a little bit as well. Ever so slightly wider than 4 meters, apparently. So you'll sit about here. And then about here. And then maybe just a plank to sit on top of this. Painted plank thin, I should have access to. Yeah, there it is. So that's roughly the shape that the Fennec Fox habitat is going to take. Let's do our last little bit of cosmetic on here. We want to paint all of these fence pieces black so that they're easier to see through. I am noticing that it's not exactly symmetrical, and I think I'm just going to live with that. As long as it looks symmetrical, it doesn't actually have to be. And I also want to start putting all of these into a group, so that if we do need to change anything on them, we don't immediately hate our lives for trying to do so. Change the color, pitch black. Start adding cables. You don't actually need to be in this group. Get you into that group. Now we'll do the other side. Oh, you're, well, almost. I was gonna say you're in the group that you need to be in already, but that's not true. Split you from group. Go into that group, and then add all of the stuff in the front to a group. Merge into group. And that should now be everything. So if I move you over here, that looks like everything you need. Which means that I should now be able to go like this. Rotate you 180 degrees. Slide you back so that you match up exactly with this little rope marker that we left on top of the pillar. It is a $1,200 piece of furniture. I'm scared. I'm going to duplicate you first in case something goes wrong. I'm spending $1,200 on it just in case. Merge into group. It's perfect. So now I can just slide. Oh, I forgot the cable at the top. Oh, disastrous. But it does work. So we can undo to get our $1,300 back. We can select you and then also grab this cable. And then undo that. Yeah. Okay. Rename this thing because it's important. Fennec Fox Mesh Dome. I think you can also now get rid of all these extra sticks. You really don't need these at all. And in fact, they're just taking up space. There's also going to be a lot of duplicates under there. You remember that. There they are. And as long as our overall structure is symmetrical, when we hook it up to our central pillar, we should still be able to rotate just fine. So this is an incredibly lopsided structure right now. But if we go like this and like this, no, if we just go like this, and we duplicate, and we line you up, then it should work just fine. Actually, before you do that, you should repaint your mud wall, and then you should also repaint this mesh. Get as much done as possible before you do your final rotation, and then you don't have to touch it again. You also might want to add, like, what's your theming over here? Breeze block? No, full concrete. Full concrete, full concrete. Breeze block on the base of buildings. Breeze block on the base of buildings. Mud. Mud doesn't have a base. I want there to be like a little runner at the bottom, but I'm not entirely sure what I want to make it out of. So let's go look at our walls that are available. Breeze block we've done. I don't want to do a wood runner at the bottom. I want something that's a little bit more of a solid construction. I don't want metal plank. We could do plaster wall with the rounded top. No, it's a grid piece. That's going to be annoying to work with. We don't really have options. Could you use rock cladding or like rock pillar? Desert Africa. Rocks only. You know, maybe. Let's see how you feel about this. Don't hate it. Actually, do not hate it. Yeah, let's try that. Merge into group. Paint your sidebars as well. Like these things. Give you like a lighter painted wood, and then these dowels we can make a little darker. Also, Fennec Foxes can climb. So you might want to think about sealing that off and making it look like it's like anti-climb or something. Do you have a thin plank? Thin. That's too thin. Thick? Yeah, this is the one I was thinking of. So if we wanted to make our own bespoke anti-climb, I think it might look something like this. Ish. Something like that. And then, like, they could try and climb this fence, but they're not going to get much further than that. So we'll put some of that in. And then we also want this entire thing to be no climb. Just so they don't try and, like, clamber their way through other stuff. So I think now we're ready. I think we've put it off long enough. You go here. We are now up to 1,400 total on this thing. It still works. I think we're going to need about that many. And then let's unify these. You're going to need to destroy the pillar in the middle first, though, for all of them. And this time I do want to click through one by one, instead of splitting everything as a group. I think you might actually need that line. If I move you over to here, you made one more than you needed. There you go. This is going to fit roughly right here. You're gonna do a little... No, you did need the last one. You do need that last one after all. Because that's the... I actually think you need one more. Yeah, you need one more in addition to that. Well, I would need this one. Jesus, this thing is going to be expensive. Yeah. Alright, now you're good, though. So one of them's going to go here. Oh man, I really like that. It looks good. Getting excited. Do it. And then you don't need any of these anymore. Wait a minute. You need to make 2 of these. No, but they're going to be the same size. Yeah, no, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You can redo that. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to grab this thing off of that pillar. I'm so scared. I think I need to split this entire group. It's really scary, but I'm gonna do it. So split all groups. Then grab just this. And there's a couple things in here you don't want. Select better. You missed one piece of rope. There you go. Move this over here. You do need to rotate it a little bit. Also turn angle snap off. You want it to line up with this flat section as perfect as you can, so that you can just make that section flat. You got it. Did you get it? Yeah, you did get it. But I think you're going to have to do one more turn. So you're going to make a flat section there. But it's going to need to be a flat section at like a 15-degree angle. And this section of the cage is going to live here. Roughly. Yeah, I think you've got it. So now you need to make this thing into a group again. These posts can all go. Those were just my placeholders. This can all get selected and merged. So you are Fennec Fox Dome semicircle. You don't need these anymore, but you might end up putting them back later. Then this is also Fennec Fox Dome semicircle. You are going to need to put in a connecting piece here, which I think is not going to be mesh. I think it's just going to be something solid, because it's going to make this join tidier, so I don't have to do mesh all the way up this thing. The other thing that you can do at this point, turn all these barriers into null barriers, so that you can see through. So pull you down. You're gonna live right here. And then pull you down. You're gonna live right here. Then you got to figure out what you're going to put in here. Mud wall. Let's pull you off of here to start to get the height correct. Fit. Yeah, that's the length that you need it to be. We just need to rotate you around slightly. To about here. Pull you in a bit. Get you your rock trim underneath you. And then I want to do something different in this spot. So that it's not just cage all the way around. And I think that if we want to continue with the camel motif that we have previously... Oh, I don't have the piece with the line on it. That's not a grid piece. Oh, that sucks. Because I wanted to use, like, this piece. Yeah, I wanted to use, like, this piece because it's got the nice decoration on it. But I can't. Well, how about this instead? Go to your wall decorations. And I do really like these sticks panels that we used over in the concessions area. So we can put some of these in. The bamboo theming I do think is a little odd in a desert area. But it's not like we can't work with it. And then I can just have these mud walls go vertical. Up to probably where that cable is going to run. Maybe a little higher. And then I can pull this up. And then I can bring all this down. And why? I don't really know. But, like, we can put some other wall decorations around it. Do I have any artwork for Fennec Fox? I do. I have Fennec Fox statues. Oh. Well, well, well. That changes things. We should be finishing the habitat before we start decorating. But it's just going to bug me if I don't know what this space is going to be. So we'll have... It's like a little table here or something. It's like a little display stand for some reason. That runs like that. Flip you around to here. And to here. And then we can put our Fennec Fox statues on top of that. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling it. And then this is also, like, on this little table section, where I can put an education board. And it's also where I could do the animal talk. Oh, it's done. Animal talk's gonna look so good here. I have to put it in right now. Oh, it's so screenshotable. I love it. Yes, man. Yes. Let's do an August Fennec Fox talk. We'll get power over here later. Don't worry about that. That's a problem that we can solve. Bring over the anti-climb. This is purely cosmetic since everything is already climbing disabled. But I just want it to remain consistent. I guess it should just come down to like here. It actually is playing relatively nicely with that connection. Although it looks like you got the height slightly wrong. Yeah, there you go. Good enough. And then I do think I actually need to do netting here. I wouldn't want like a vulture swooping in to eat one of my Fennec Foxes. Oh, you're really gonna fight me on that, aren't you? Because you're not rotated the right way. Yeah, it's gonna fight you hard on that. If you turn angle snap on, are you conveniently at one of the 15-degree angles that matter? Nope. You're gonna have to line up the mesh by hand again then. Yep. Let's procrastinate that a little longer. How bad does this look? Not that bad. Not really that bad at all. I think anyway. Sure. Slide you over just a little bit to hide that wood. Same for you. Obviously, you can letter this here. Maybe go 3D. It's so big, though. Maybe it's not that big. I think I can fit it in. No, it's really big. How about Nodo? Is Nodo smaller? Nope. And that's even bigger. Maybe even smaller. Maybe 2D is smaller. 2D is smaller. Alright, we'll go with 2D then. Fennec. Foxes. Let's push our kerning down a little bit here. Ooh, you know what? I actually have room to name this habitat instead. Which is kind of what I wanted to do in the first place. How did your sliding get screwed up? There you go. Fennec Canyon. It's actually just the Y that's the problem. Okay. Unfortunately, you can't put off mesh any longer now. So just grab the 4x4 pieces and get to work. Never mind. It's actually way easier than I thought it would be. Huge. Still not quite right, though. That looks pretty good. Good enough to take for now, anyway. No, that's not even close to good enough. This is really gonna hurt, isn't it? This stuff is invisible when you view it from an angle. You're under, but you're too high up now. You're lined up, but you're too high. That might be it. That is it. And then you just need to move it over by 1. Yeah, I think that's good enough. And then you're going to have to do these separately because the grid is extremely mad about their orientation. There you go. Check it. Still doing good. You are still doing good, but you're a little off. Slide it over by 1. It's going to be a messy join in some spots, but just don't look too closely, and it'll be fine. black. Alright, so that's basic framework done. That has cost us roughly $20,000 so far. A little scary. What I want in the back is a big rock wall. I'm talking big rock wall. Price descending. Also, give me the mud pillars back. I think you can look like you're connected into these. And then I can paint this like, you know, steel gray or something like that. So it looks like it's a big piece of metal. And then I'll do the same thing with one over here. Don't worry about the fact that they're floating. We're going to bury these things in rocks. I wonder if I can do anything about this. I don't think so. I think I'm just going to have to leave it open at the top. But I guess I could bring these up. These can have a clean join at the top. Again, for the sake of realism, and I'm doing realism with, like, you know, air quotes. We just need to keep predators from making it into this thing. And I think that'll do a fine job of it. And then give me a thick beam. Eight meter? Yeah, 8 meter thick beam will do. Paint this gray as well. So that's what holds the undeading up. And then we start putting in rocks. No position snap to anything. Random rotation. Put the big ones as far back as possible, while still having the supports rest on them. Because there's some other layering that I think I'll probably want to do. Good. So that's what holds those things up in the back. Then, give me this desert rock. Turn all of your random rotation off. You're going to run this guy along here. Roughly following the mesh. And this is going to be what closes the habitat off. Bring it up a little bit. Slide it back a little bit. Bring it up a little bit. Slide it forward a little bit. No, you should probably slide it back further. Make that a group so that you can move it in a little tighter. You're gonna need to rotate some of these around though. You can tell that it looks too uniform. That helps a bit. Doesn't really look super templated anymore. And then down here at the end, you'll just want to cover this join up. Maybe move this post in a little bit. Now duplicate this guy. Yeah, there you go. So that's one end. The other end, I actually think, is going to be their shelter. So we can just kind of ignore it. How are you doing on space now? 828. Okay. Along the front, I would also like to add a rockwork. Because my vision for this habitat overall is that it actually does kind of look like a canyon. Maybe this isn't the right piece to use then. Maybe you should use cladding. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you should use cladding here. And then just squish cladding against the inside of the mud wall. Drop it down a little bit. Because if we do it this way, then guests that are looking in from one side of the habitat will see rock when they look in, and they won't see mud wall. I wonder if you could even angle it a bit. You definitely can. Okay. And then we'll just keep rotating them around every once in a while. Make sure they're not poking out through the front of the habitat. Like that. Also like that. Oh, it's not you. It's you. There we go. I think a little bit of poke through is probably alright, but we'll try and mitigate as much as we can. And then this I actually want to just cover up with facade completely. On the inside anyway. Really? Alright, fine. Do it myself. So we actually didn't need the anti-climb there after all. Also, that is not aligned to surface. You've lied to me. Also need to hide you with like another rock pillar. There's an ugly seam there. Sufficient. And after this, we'll still have to build shelter. It has only been an hour and 30 minutes though, so we're actually doing fairly well on time, surprisingly. I thought dome construction was going to take much, much longer than that. But it actually really came together quite nicely. So I'm very appreciative of that. Should probably rotate you eventually. You're vulnerable. There you go. Okay, and then last one. So there's a lot of empty space in the middle of this habitat right now. I would really like to narrow it up. And I think the way that I narrow it up, which I don't think the Fennec Foxes are going to particularly like, is I basically split it in half. I want to see just how destructive this is to their overall traversable area in here. But Fennec Foxes are not big. And if possible, I'd like to force them to get closer to the guests. But then this also, if it works, and if it doesn't destroy all of their navigable area in here, will give them extra places to hide behind this sort of like fake rock wall. And even better if they're actually able to climb up the rock wall itself. That would be an ideal case. So what does that do to your navigable terrain? Also, can I unpause this habitat? No, you're missing a fence. Make that chain link momentarily. Unless we can hide that behind this front wall. Also, you probably want to tidy up these null barriers. They were made with 8 meter in mind, and you have like 4 meter splits now. You don't want a Fennec Fox to be able to creep into that gap and trigger an escaped animal warning, even though nobody's actually in danger. So we'll just slide these out. And then I think you can unpause this habitat. You can start to take a look at how things are progressing. Valid habitat? Looks like it. Terrain? 563. Traversable area. So you can't get on top of the rock. I want you to be able to get on top of the rock. I think you being on top of the rock would be cool. So I'm gonna work on this a bit. Starters, let's get it all into a group. So that we can maybe pull the height down a little bit. And then add on to it in some places. Like, what if we just put a bunch of these along it? In particular out front. Also worth noting, we've spent $20,000 so far. And we probably still have quite a bit of spending to do still. Let's go. Okay, so they can get on top of the rock now. I want to give them a little more dimension on top of this canyon still. So I'm going to give them some places that they're allowed to climb up it. Those would be like viewing opportunities for interested guests. But then some places that are just going to look impassable. So they're going to have tons of places to hide in here. Which is good, because Fennec Foxes are very shy. They are going to get very stressed out if they don't have anywhere that they can retreat from the prying eyes of the guests. Just give them more opportunities to get up on top of the rock from back here. I think I'm really liking this so far. I think this looks like a very cool and dynamic habitat. Can you still get onto your rocks? Yeah. Your traversable area is 607. Not horrible. What was the target we were aiming for? 336? We're so on target. Let's start fixing your terrain. You have way too much rock, not enough sand. Fixable. You want almost no rock. We'll do coarse sand in the back, and then some splotches of it out front. Plants. You can actually handle quite a bit of plants, which is great. Can I get a frankincense tree to fit under this netting? Kind of. And that's the big frankincense tree, too. Well, then use like oh, because then you can fit it without crushing it underground. So over here we'll do your water. Give you a nice little pipe to drink from next to the rocks. I do want to roughen up your terrain in here a little bit. So we're going to pull it like 20%. I think especially in the back we can pull this terrain up a bit. And then maybe around the sides as well. But just so it's not totally flat. Looks a little, you know, sandy, sand duney in here. Your meat plate, I will be moving up onto some of these rocks. So that will encourage them to come up here to eat, and I'm pretty sure that should still be keeper accessible. Yeah, that is keeper accessible. Okay. And that's all your enrichment, unfortunately. I need to research a bunch more enrichment for you. I can move your burrow over here. I can give you a burrow right here, back against this wall. Nobody will ever see you here. You'll be so secret. It's actually not possible to see that burrow. Good. Over on this side, how about you take a quiver tree? And then in the back, how about you take a big dragon's blood tree? So we'll get a little bit of like marquee foliage in here. Stuff that's really eye-catching. Give you some dead plants up in and around these rocks. Mixing the two at the same time always looks nice. Give you a little bit of dry grass along the front here. How's that looking for your foliage meter? Pretty good. Pretty good. Dude, I think this is really neat. I'm really pleased with how this is coming out. So the last thing that I want to do is set up your habitat, your shelter, because we're going to have an inside viewing zone here as well. So that's going to be over here. We're going to have a rock wall for separation. Probably don't need to random rotate that. That looks kind of okay. And then down here at the bottom of it, just have like a rock jumble that can have random rotation. I want this to look like it's crumbling a bit. At least from the front. Good. And then the shelter. I keep going with the mud theme. This I would be fine with being on the grid. It's going to go here, 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 but there's going to be a door for the keeper to come through. As soon as I can find door. Can I get arched with no paint on it, though? No, arch with no paint doesn't exist. Alright. Let's take door, then. And then take door here as well. You only need to come up to about here. Why did you want door there? You know, I don't really remember. So let's just get rid of it. We'll just have that be a section of the habitat that is closed off, I guess. So I can null barrier here now. All of this can be null barrier, in fact. Except that you... Oh, was that all of it? Whoops. There we go. I just want you to go away. And you can come over to here. And then to here. And then back and down through here. So how bad does that hurt your area? You're down to 780. How much of it can you see? 527. We're getting a little scary now. I think we're still good, but we're getting a little scary. Let's also just finish the conversion. Make everything into null. Whoa, whoa. I would like to replace you with a normal habitat door, probably. But I don't think that needs to happen now. This, I think, can just be random rock fill. I don't think we need to do anything fancier than that. We'll have it encroach on the inside of it as well. And then give me a larger rock. Not that large. Something like that'll do, and then give me a smaller rock. Something like that will do. And then just continue some of these over into the rock. As well as our make-believe anti-climb. It's actually kind of a big gap in your netting there. Maybe you should line up the, yeah, I'm gonna line up the shelter to actually hit that gap in the netting exactly. So just grab this house. Slide it over to like right here. And then pull this wall up, I guess. I wanted to do like a fun shape, but no fun shapes allowed apparently. This you could pull in though. You could go like that. And then you really do need to fix this now. I'll bury it here. That's gonna freak the habitat out because I just destroyed the door right now. So we're gonna have to rename it to Fennec Fox, re-add it to work group, etc. But I think this is important. And we wanted to replace it with a better door anyway. So you're Fennec Fox. Work group. Add Fennec Fox. And then also add Fennec Fox Talk. Then you just have to finish this house and you're basically good to go. Well, no, you need to put the education boards down in front and all that kind of stuff too. Mud wall. I guess you just do this. Like, it doesn't exactly line up, but it's pretty close. I really don't like it up here, though. I'll have to figure something else out to do up there. I think this is fine. And I think this is fine. Although I don't like that you're trying to follow this wall. Let's just get rid of that. Then I'm going to do something else up here. I don't really know what yet. But I'll figure something else out. Here, we're going to need windows. So we'll just use surrounds. Along the back wall, this can just be flat. This can also just be flat, and then you can come out like this. But there's going to be a false wall here. And that's going to be how we handle that. We're also going to need to handle that in a custom way. So I guess do it now. Something like this. With you pulled to the outside and inside, I guess. So you can match the thickness of the wall. Good. And then here along the back wall, maybe a lower stripe. Why not? Actually, that needs to be 2. Oh, but then you're going to try and join, right? You'll come up to there. You are also going to come up. There. You need a 1. You need a slope. You also need a slope. You're not going to be able to get a slope. That's right. You're going to have to build one custom for that, and it's going to be annoying. Oh, it's going to be really annoying. That's okay. You can do it. You can be strong. So far, so good on all this, honestly. Emergency camper. You're not escaped, though. You're in your house. Hold on, you're in your house. You're inside. There we go. You figured it out. Okay. Oh, there's still so much to do on this. Let's get a path in. This is going to be for our viewing gallery for the Fennec Foxes. We are going to round this corner off a bit. Also round this corner off a bit. And then I'd like you to be square. I think we were going to originally put a scarab beetle there or something. We may still do that. We also have space right here. So we have a little bit of leftover room for it. Yeah, let's just focus on getting this habitat done. Let's get our classic corrugated plastic roof in. And up here it'll be flat. We're going to need to add trim to that. I think we can unpause at this point, though. And we can let some... Oh, we need to put our education boards in. I'll put education boards in, and then I'll let it run for a bit. Just to make sure everything is working. So for these... I can add... Oh, no. Oh, no. For these... I can actually hide them inside the posts. Like this. And that'll be how we can grab them. So we'll do light, gap, board. Board obviously having Fennec Fox on it. Wide Fennec Fox. You, Fennec Fox. You, Fennec Fox. And then sink you into the ground. And then we're going to duplicate you around a few times. Gap, light. We will have Fennec Fox boards here, in front of the animal talk. Actually, we should set one here. Otherwise, the sound is going to overlap. You can go like this, but then you need to move even further down. And I'll need to get power to you as well. And then we're going to duplicate you over again. So there would also be a board there. Gap, light, gap, board. No. Light, gap, board. Light, gap would be here. It's in front of you. Feels like we don't have a ton of boards for the Fennec Foxes, but it'll be okay, probably. And you're also not going to have power, so where's power going to go? We might stick a generator back, like, here. Let's lay out just a little bit of pathing. So you'll go around like this. Eventually that's going to be a courtyard, so I don't really want to touch it yet, because we're going to want to grid it out. But I think I'm comfortable doing that. Round those two spots off. It's not going to reach over there. It needs to be on the other side. You want it to be like right here. It's kind of workable. If I pull you down to here, we should still have coverage on everything, and it'll be far enough away from that food court that guests shouldn't notice it. Alright, so mark your spot. Needs to be like right here. We'll have a little utility section right here. And that reaches everything we needed to reach. So put that in. You have a lot of spare money right now. Maybe just put your plaza in. This is going to be one of the central plazas for the path, so we might want to make it look a little fancier. Maybe like some herringbone. Start here. It's not really the grid that I want you to be on. There we go. Again, we drew these paint shapes, so we are beholden to follow them, even if they don't exactly line up with our grid. So that's going to be where one of these plazas is. I'll probably have concession stand here and here. And then here, maybe around here. I don't like that that path doesn't really connect that well, but it's kind of the only spot that I can fit this stuff in. And then we'll have a staff path. It just runs in like that. So then we also need to plug you into path. We'll have you come around like this, come down like this, through to here, through like this, and then around like this, and back into here. So these bins need to move. This bench needs to move. You're going to come around like that. You're going to come around like this. And then like this. And then you're going to connect in here. And also probably here. And then also eventually up here. And that's going to be how people get into that plaza. Then, I guess as long as you're over here, you might as well have this path run down the way that you want it to. And then in like that. So that's kind of going to be the structure that we have over here. But the point was to get that transformer down. And then add it to your work zone. Technically, it's not even going to be in Arid Safari Animal Care. Eventually, that's going to be a new work zone. We'll have to remember to move the transformer at that point. But for now, that powers all this Fennec Fox stuff up. Also, change color with this so it doesn't just look like default plaster. Try and get it like a nice ivory white, maybe. And then make the end look less ugly. That'll do. Alright, so, Fennec Canyon. Get you, and you next to the info boards for max donations. Don't need that one anymore. I almost want to straighten this, but I know that it would be an absolute nightmare to do. Because I'd have to rework all the mesh and everything. And in fact, I wonder if I can just manipulate the path instead. I can. Yeah, we'll do that. The path will just have like a little jaunt in it. Can even widen some of it out. Sure. And do you still have room to put an aviary over there eventually? Or the bat house? You do. You do. Yeah, you can still fit a bat house in there if you want to later. And then for these, eventually one more of them is just going to come sit over here. Right about like this, if I had to guess. No, probably closer like this. It'll probably be here. And then I'm going to destroy these three, and I'm going to make these smooth. So that it runs straight along here. And that's going to be how the sandcat looks. There's going to be a nice pillar inside their habitat. That's going to be great. But it's going to use the same style of net. So that these sections look like they're the same. That they're part of the same zoo. I also don't think I need to use a post here. I think I much prefer that. I'll just slide you over the tiniest little bit. So that you join into the house nicely. So education done. Comfortable letting the game actually run now. We can add a little more decoration to this later if we want to. But comfortable letting the game run now. While we work a little bit on this house. This is going to be one-way glass. I immediately became concerned about the fact that they might be able to jump out of this fence. So I'm going to leave it on pause for a little longer. So we'll get one-way glass in here. One piece here. One piece here, and then we'll have a join in the middle. What are we using for, like, accent pieces these days? Not really. Well, no, you have windows back here. Right, you would be using some of these. I'll just be borrowing this if you don't mind. I think I want you to stick out a little bit. That's a 4 meter. Can I get a 2 meter? Much better. You win this time. And then that can also just be your divider in the middle. Drop dead easy. Maybe push these through the back as well. So that it looks finished from the inside as well. Yeah, like that. Alright. This building desperately needs trim, especially along the bottom. But I don't want it to look like this rugged exterior that we have in the outside portion. So I am just going to go back to breeze block as trim. And we'll just have it be very understated down here at the bottom. But I want it to look like the foundation exists. Duplicate you around. Swing you over here. Shorten you up as far as his door is concerned. That door could also use some special trim. Two meters way too high. Or 4 meters way too high. Give me 2 meter. Move you back a little bit. We can let the wood cover that gap here. Pretty sure that's the color. You as well can get pushed back a little bit. And then you, I guess we'll need to hide in the wall because you don't exactly fit. Then you're going to need 2 meter for this as well because 4 meter is going to be too long. Breeze 2 meter. Go to about here. About here, and then we can go to 4 meter. Or run it all the way down the other side of the building. And here. All right. Starting to get there. You... We can push up just a little higher so that you actually meet the roof. It'll make our life easier for adding trim later. And then you, we can spin around. And then pull up to save us the work on the roof trim when we get to it. You can go to like here. Actually, you might not even... Like, you can just do it with this thing. Mostly. In fact, almost completely. Alright, well that's obviously not right. You were working so well with me too. But now you're full of hate. There we go. Probably don't need to do anything on the inside. Inside looks really good. And outside, we should just need really simple roof trim for that. Nothing super fancy. But with that done, we can bring another education board over. Slide you so that you're aligned here. We'll leave a bit of the metal poking out. So it looks like it is actually mounted to the wall. And then we'll put another one over here. Do they interfere with each other? They do. So we're going to have to edit the range of that. Looks like these are going to need to be 5. Yep, 5 will do perfect. Is that an issue over here too? Yes. You need to be smaller. No. Alright, I'm going in. How big do you need to be? 6 will be okay. So there's going to be a little bit of a gap around the Fennec Foxes, but we'll live. And now I think you can run. So let's let money come in for a bit. Let's bring one of our sunshades over. It's not going to want to snap, and that's okay. This building still looks a little plain. But I think if we take a little time and we do add some trim to it, that's going to improve things quite a bit. I also got to figure out what to do over here. You need some way to close that off rather than just have it being open. I guess you could just run mesh straight down the back, but it seems kind of boring. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do back there. But that should be most of the money that we need to spend this time. So let's go ahead and pay off our 20,000. Just to get that debt off of our balance sheet. And then we only have to worry about the 50,000 loan running. And it's only March. We have so much extra time for activities. Let's get some benches in over here. We're also going to need extra lights. But I feel like people would want to sit down over here. Maybe take a look at some Fennec Foxes. Maybe same thing here. Same thing here eventually, but there's going to be another path that comes out that way at some point. We have 850 guests in the zoo. I will happily take a little extra money. I like it, man. I like it a lot. I think it's a really interesting habitat. Keep working on dromedary camel. And then we can do Fennec Fox after. Also, what the heck? How long has this been here? Ugly. There we go. Doesn't feel like we have 850 people here. It's pretty sparse. But I guess it's true. Scimitar Horned Oryx is at offspring. Adax is at offspring. Very cute. Very cute. How are we looking on populations in our current exhibits? We do have one more pregnant Adax still. I think it's time for all of you to get onto contraceptives, maybe. Temporarily. How many Adaxes do we want over? Oh, we could have up to 25? Never mind. How much room do you have in your habitat? You have 1,300? We can actually let a lot of you breed. And how are you looking? 3 to 40? And you currently have 1,350? Alright, I don't think we actually need to look at Adax and Scimitar Horned Oryx populations like at all. I think they're going to be just fine for space. Camels can go 2 to 13. These we need to be a little careful with, though. Camel population is going to get managed a little more aggressively. They've only got 1,800 meters total. guests, we have vet research. We're really flying through vet research now. That's great. I would love to do even just like 1 or 2 researches for a Fennec Fox before we're done here. And apparently we got a toy enrichment for you. Large barrel feeder. You do need more food enrichment in your habitat. So we have a scent marker in there, scent marker in there. Scent marker in there. I don't know how you punted your grab ball up there, but I can give you a little food source back here. Encourage you to explore some of your ruins. That also pushes you to full food enrichment. I also think we finally dealt with all of our protesters, so that's also good. Scimitar Horndoor is mating again. Tickets are underpriced. I love hearing that. Let's go to 14 and 7. Fennec Fox donations were 300, 400, 440. Although we should probably have some more over here. Copy the barrel so you get the right colors. How many of you do you want in a group? 6 males, 60 males? Maybe we should get a couple more Fennec Foxes. How many have we got right now? Oh, only 2? Dude, let's get some more. Fennec. Yeah, give me 1 more female. And give me 1 more male. Send these guys into quarantine. That's camel 5 done. Which gets them another toy enrichment. Is it something new this time? A block of ice. You're good on toys. You don't need it. You could also dress up the front of this habitat a bit, I think. Let's make sure we don't have rocks poking through. Thought I was vigilant about that, but apparently not enough. There's hopefully the last one. Right. So you can put a couple plants around the front of this thing too. We probably want to stick to very small bushes for this case, because we don't want it poking into the habitat itself. And get some grass under that too. Even grown onto the path a little bit. And you can get a little bit of rock work in here too. Let's touch up the outside so it doesn't look quite as barren. It is supposed to look a little barren, given that it's in the desert and all, but doesn't mean it just has to be empty. A little bit of plants goes a long way. Do you have any small wall decorations to put on this? Doesn't need to be anything huge. You do African wall decorative pole? No, no thank you. I'm good. Could you do some trim on the front, maybe? Yeah, kinda. I need one that's a little taller. Also, that's not just bamboo. You can do these, yeah. You can just sink most of them into the ground. And then spin it 180 so that the bamboo is kind of pointing backwards. Yeah, like this will do. Just a little something to break up the visual monotony of the front of this. There you go. Then I'll go back to work on the other side. Sandcat is about to mature. I think that sandcats really don't like other sandcats, so I'm probably going to need to go deal with that here shortly. I think they're going to be likely to get into a fight with one another. But I'll just finish the planting that I want to do first. And then we'll go over and check on them. There we go. Right, sandcats, how are you doing over here? Also, that is Camel 6 gun. Lovely. We can now move on to Fennec Fox. You are the tiny boy? Or is there another older one? No, they're both about to mature. Alright, we'll donate both of them then. We also need to get lights in over there. We'll need to bury the base of this thing. And honestly, I think that these are spread out enough that you may want to just go lights every other post. Because there are a lot of them. Which would also mean that if you wanted to, you could go education board every other. But I don't think that's necessary. I do like the idea that if they're going to be this high up, that there are lights above the boards, so that they're easier to read. I think that's cool. Oh, you know what else we can do here? Give me one of you. I don't know what you're snapping to. Sandcats matured? Alright, get ready to move them out. But first I want to do this. I need a stronger light. That is arguably too strong. Also, I don't know what you're trying to snap to right now. I think this may be too strong, but I'm going to try it. Yeah, it's too bright. I need a light that's in the middle in terms of brightness. Like, you're not bright enough. You're not bright enough. You're way too bright. And you're not bright enough. But I want a light that, like, lights up Fennec Canyon at night. I think we're just going to have to research them from, like, a different theme pack or something, so we'll wait on that for a bit. You two are getting released to wild. Bonus conservation credits. Bonus money. Bonus money. We're at 33. I need 47 to pay my loan back. So yeah, it cost me about 20,000, which is roughly what I was expecting it to cost. You'll also need some lights in here. Here, though, would be a decent place to actually just use the Africa theme lights. Because they are nice. That doesn't look like too much. Protesters? What are you protesting now? What's wrong? What's wrong, Himari? You're stressed? Go inside. Just go inside. It's okay. I need to figure something out to get these addicts less stressed every once in a while. I could get them to hide back here, maybe. Like, put in a rock wall. They could go and hide behind there if they needed to. But, like, you can just go inside. There you go. Wow, instantly less stress. Good job. Good job, bud. You figured it out. Way to go. So, still a bit of decorating that we need to do to this thing. And I guess I will just go grab my trim. Any random piece of trim blueprint should do here. We're going to need to shorten those boards up pretty significantly, but roughly like this is going to do what we need it to do. Yeah, okay. Pull this through. Oh, you're not quite right. I need to rotate you just a little bit more. gonna do you no favors. Eh, you sit over here. Duplicate you. I want you to align to the grid that you're supposed to be on. I'll just rebuild you in place. And then this is probably going to be the last thing we do. I'm looking at timer. It's been almost 3 hours. It has taken us quite a while to build this section of the zoo up this time. However, this is one of those projects, in particular with this dome, where you do it once, and then you can copy it to anywhere else you need it to go in the zoo. So when we do sandcats next time, I don't think that they are going to take nearly this long, because we have a lot of that dome in place already. And sandcats are also the last thing that we need to do in this section of the zoo before we are ready to move on to what comes next. So when we get to that point, I'm going to put up a poll on the community page. And the poll is going to be, what section of the zoo do you think we should work on next? I didn't rotate. All right, fine. The poll is going to be, what section of the zoo do you think we should work on next? And I'll just have you guys vote on it. You can tell me which section you think we should work on next between the Namib and Kalahari sections. Between the, I think it's Namib and Kalahari anyway. It's like Namib Desert and Southern Africa, so that would be like Gemsbach and stuff like that. It is Horn of Africa section, which is like Somali wild ass, Hamadryas baboon, and some other ones. And then it is the Sahel, which I think is like cheetah, rhino, and some of the other bigger savanna animals that also have territory that ranges into those spaces. But before we get to that point, we need to build the second concession area. And I also want to give the entire zoo just a once over. Come on, I didn't rotate you at all. Are you really going to be mad? Oh, alright, fine. Try doing it from scratch. Primitive. Square. What if I just don't even add you to the group? What then? Would you be more compliant, maybe? And then get the color right. I actually don't mind like a sandier color on this one. Because the brick is naturally darker. So this will help add some contrast to it. Now are you going to play nice? I've never rotated any of these pieces. I never tried to join them to a group. No, still not. Then the last thing that I can think to do would be to just build it in place down here. We'll snap it down. Do you not want to snap? I guess you don't even want to snap. Oh wait, hold on. There we go. We're good. I got it. this thing off, and then we just need to slide this thing into position. So you're going to live right here. And now if I select you and duplicate you, I can just drag you straight up. So that's good enough. Don't need to move you left and right if I just build the one corner at the bottom. There we go. Do the same thing down here. And now I can just angle snap because I know that at least this building is at 90-degree corners. If I were worried about money, I could trim some of these off the top, but I'm just going to send it. We can move you down here. You're going to join it like that. Does mean that this needs to come out just a little bit further. Like that. And then one more in the back corner here. Keeping height the same. Now if we go into group edit, grab one of these, slide it up until it just barely covers the roof. Pull you all the way along. I don't think I'm going to do that. Well, no, I do need to do the same thing on the front. Looks ugly. Bring you down so you're just barely above the roof. I do wish that these had a little bit of texture, but I think it'll look better once the wood is on them. And also let the zoo run. Because after I'm done with this, we'll probably be done for the day. I just don't want to leave the building trimless. And then as we unlock some of the Fennec Fox enrichment items, we can go back and revisit how this looks on the inside. Is that weird? I don't think so. Okay. Grab this board off of you. Actually, don't do that. Grab one of you. Duplicate. thin board painted. Let's run it along here. Down as well? Yeah, why not? Take a look at it. See how it goes. I don't think adding dimension to the side of a building is ever really a bad thing. What is going on with the light right now? Weird. Yeah, that's fine. I don't quite know what you want to do on the other side yet, though. So I guess just bring it up to where the other one is. Like that. And then these need to come out. They are too close to being inside the rough primitive shapes. They're trying to glitch themselves out. Which means I guess they should come all the way around. Like this. So that they look more coherent. Finish another task already? Sure. I'll take an extra $1,000. No problem. Wait, you already have one on that side. Rid of you. Rid of you. We'll do this one instead. Yeah. So there's a little bit of, well, I guess if I pull you out, there wouldn't be popping. You are pretty close to being flush with these things. Well, you would. And then same thing for you. Pull you out so you aren't constantly trying to click through a bunch of other stuff. And same thing for you, I would bet. No, actually, you're fine. Okay. So with that done, you can get rid of this. This is no longer necessary. We've templated everything we need to off of it. Bring this up a little further so it looks like a bit of a battlement. Rotate this around. Line it up to about there. Extend it to the end of the roof. Do the same thing with you. Okay. Then grab this guy. He needs to come down ever so slightly. I guess I actually should copy one of these. Because then they'll be at the exact height that you need them to be at. Okay. Then rotate that so it continues to be flush with the roof, which is about there. Pull it up until it's flush with the previous piece, which is about there. And then slide it on down. And watch from the back to make sure that you've gotten the height exactly correct. Which it looks like you may not have. It looks like you're getting very close to that roof. But if you can just make it to the bottom before it clips through the corrugated plastic, then you'll be fine. Sad. There must be a better way. That looks like you should be fine. And then just fix this one piece at the end. Which actually means pulling this one over a little further. There. And there. Then you can continue this down. You join in there quite seamlessly. Although it looks like we need to push you in a little bit. Which means we would also need to push you in a little bit. And here you just cross your fingers that the grid cooperates. It does. You missed one. Push him back in line. Then you take one of these, duplicate up. Thin plank painted. Slide it up to here. Get it to line up with this join. Change its color. Duplicate it. That is not actually the same color. What color are you? Planet Zoo Plank Thin. Oh, it's not even painted. It's just Planet Zoo Plank. I can work with that. Why didn't you say so? Okay. And then if you would cooperate, I would be so happy. Actually, it doesn't matter. I think I can just rotate you 90 degrees no matter what you decide to do here. No, it's still going to try and argue with you. And I really wish you wouldn't have changed that height. Alright, well, I'll do these one by one. You're going to come into here. You're going to come into here. And then you're going to come into here and rotate 90. Cover up that join. And then same thing on far side. Man, I would love it if you would cooperate too. I could just slide this whole thing over. Oh, man. It's looking pretty good. I don't think it's exactly right, but it's real close. No, actually, that is exactly right. That's huge. But you need the wood on the other side. Alright, well, then grab just the primitive pieces first. It's still happy with it. Make sure you're joining smooth up here. You are. Make sure you're joining smooth down here. You mostly are. I can fix that on this side. Whatever. You're gonna try and freehand it? Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna try and freehand it. He's done it. He successfully freehanded it. And now can you get the boards over there too? Boards also want to cooperate. Good sign. I do wish that the cable followed this building exactly, but that would take an absolute eternity to try and line up. So I'm just not going to do it. And then we take this framing. We slide you to the front. We can fix that gap shortly. That's not critical. And we just need to frame the other side. How are we supposed to connect up on this side? What did you do for your join over there? Oh, you just didn't. Alright, fair enough. Let's do the same thing here then. I mean, it doesn't look bad. It's also not quite the same, but whatever. I'll live. I think that's good enough for now. It still looks a little plain, and I'm not exactly sure how to fix it, but I think for now, it's probably good enough, considering that we are over 3 hours, and that... What, did I not get a challenger? Thought it said I could do something. Considering that we're out of time for December, and we're also like way over time for this episode, I think I'm gonna say that's good enough. I want to add a little bit of trim to this door. I want to dress up the inside of this a little bit. But for the most part, I could add like some sunshades back here, but for the most part, I think that's the Fennec Foxes done. And hopefully, it means that we can really speed through the Sandcats next time, because we have these giant things just done and ready to get moved around. So that is January 1, year 7. Let's take a look at our finances. We made 31,000 last year. That is up 2,000 from ticket sales, up a little under 1,000 from shop income, up another 2,000 from donations, and 5,000 in rewards, really making up the difference there. So actually, we made 26K again last year, but we also spent $30,000 because this habitat was very, very expensive. And the Sandcat, unfortunately, is probably not going to be much cheaper. And then when we make the walkthrough exhibit here for the fruit bat, it's also not going to be cheap. And this exhibit for the Sacred Scarab Beetle is also probably not going to be super cheap. But we'll get it taken care of, one way or another. Actually, I think there's something really clever that we could do here, where we can have it connect to the staff path in the back and not have it connect here. However, as long as guests are close enough to view the box, then it doesn't matter if it has a path connection or not. So I think we will plunk a Scarab Beetle in either there, or we'll put it over here. And we can figure that out next time. Like, that's close enough to being on the grid that we could make it work if we really wanted to. At any rate, we're winding down on the arid area. So next time, Sandcat. Maybe after that, fruit bat plus Sacred Scarab Beetle. Dress up this pavilion. Dress up the center of the zoo where we have all of these ugly staff buildings. And then we're going to be moving on to the next part of Empirical Sahara. So if you want to catch that when it happens, I would recommend that you subscribe to the channel and you turn your notifications on so that you know when these videos come out in the future. And if you'd rather have a specific ping for them, join the Discord. You can find it in the About section of the YouTube page if you want to get pings for when these videos come out through Discord instead of through YouTube. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, though, and I'll catch you around next time for Empirical Sahara. Take care. Have a good one.